Afternoon, everybody. Great to be here at the RMP event this afternoon. Feels perhaps a little bit different this year, broadcasting from our living room, but still brilliant to be here. And we've really enjoyed the last 2 days so far and spoken to many of you in our booth. So looking forward to kind of sharing a little bit more about our placements and life at L'Oréal this afternoon. So just to introduce myself, my name's Charlotte. I'm the Senior Emerging Talent Manager at L'Oréal. I've been with the business for 8 years, working within talent and HR, and I manage the graduate internship and apprenticeship programme. So very happy to take questions today around application process, around vacancies, placements, etc. And I'll let Harrison introduce himself.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Harrison Dent. I am currently the product manager for Lancôme fragrances. I've been with L'Oréal for 5 years now, or nearly 5 years. I started out as an intern following the Male Undergraduate of the Year Awards, then came back on the grad scheme, and I've worked my way in various roles across L'Oréal and now work in Lancôme. So thank you very much.
Brill, it's great to have Harrison with me today, and he'll be able to kind of share you a little bit more what it's like being a previous intern himself, a graduate, and also now working within the business. So save up some questions for him for sure throughout the presentation. So what we're just going to cover today, we're going to go into a little bit more detail on who we are as a business, some facts and figures for you, useful kind of things to think about if you are thinking of applying for us, and maybe they're kind of insights into our business that you can bring to the assessment centre, but also what's happened in the most recent couple of months with COVID, and what does back to business to us look like with regards to placements, opportunities, and actually what it is, looks and feels like to be an employee at L'Oréal, and more importantly, an intern. So over to you, Harrison.
Cool, thank you very much. So I just wanted to start really by giving you a few key stats to really understand the scale and the scope of L'Oréal, because I know that a lot of you will have known the name L'Oréal and maybe you've done your research on the L'Oréal group, but you might not really know the full picture. So overall, we have over 86,000 employees worldwide, covering 150 countries. We're also the third biggest worldwide advertiser across our very wide-ranging portfolio of 36 international brands. Now, obviously, this size and scale is a key attraction to students looking to move into the business, with us being the 12th preferred company for business students worldwide. And on the next slide, you'll really see the range of brands that we're able to boast about in our portfolio. And this slide also shows you how it's structured in terms of the business. So you start out with the consumer products division at the top here, which is your sort of mass market products. Think shampoos, shower gels from the likes of L'Oréal Paris, Garnier and Men Expert, and many more as well. Then you have the luxury products division. That's where I work at the moment. So this is more luxury makeup, skincare and fragrances from Lancôme, Yves Saint Laurent, Armani fragrances and many, many more. And then at the bottom, third down, you have the professional products division, which caters more to salons and beauty professionals up and down the country. And then finally, you have the active cosmetics division, which includes brands such as La Roche-Posay, Vichy, which are tied to the likes of pharmacies, spas, and in some cases, medical facilities offering high-end skincare deeply rooted in sort of tech and science. Now, on this list, you probably see brands as well that you didn't realize actually belong to L'Oréal. So I mentioned Armani fragrances. We also have Diesel, Ralph Lauren, NYX Professional Makeup. The list goes on. And we are currently and constantly looking for new opportunities and looking to acquire new brands and new companies into the L'Oréal group. So you see that on this chart that even this year, with the market the way it is, we've still acquired Thierry Mugler, Azzaro, Valentino. And next year, one that's not on this slide, actually, we've recently announced that we'll be welcoming Prada into the L'Oréal family. So very exciting, despite the current market and the current situation as it is. Importantly as well, it's not just brands that we're acquiring, but companies specializing in tech. So one of the logos that you see here is Modiface at the top. And this is a company that supported a lot of our brands with the ability to create virtual try-on services and really kind of up our game online. So it isn't just all about the products, it's about services, our tech, and our ability to cope with a digital world. And this range of brands and divisions and business models means that we really approach everything with very much a multi-channel strategy, and an omni-channel strategy, you might say, as well. So we cover the mass market, we cover department stores, I mentioned pharmacies and spas. We have, of course, our own e-commerce sites as well. So if you think about, for me, on longcom.co.uk, the same for L'Oréal Paris, etc. On top of that, we've got our branded retail stores and hair salons. Recently, we've just done a pop-up with Atelier Cologne in their own boutique. The hair salons I mentioned with the professional products division. But not on that list is one that often goes a little forgotten and goes a little bit under the radar when we talk about the L'Oréal group, and people often forget it. However, it is no less important to us. And that is, of course, you might have guessed it, for the eagle-eyed amongst you, it is travel retail. So if you think about our airports, our duty-free shops, as well as on board, on aircraft, on airlines worldwide. And this is often overlooked and yet still represents a huge part of our business. And particularly now, obviously, with travel the way it is, it's constantly adapting depending on worldwide consumer habits and travel habits. Yet at the same time, it still remains such a huge part of our business that it actually counts as its own zone. So whereas the L'Oréal UK is its own country within the European zone, travel retail counts as completely separate as its own entity, if you like. That just shows the real scale of it. And if you think about a consumer, they don't just shop in the UK, they might shop on the way to the airport, they shop at the airport, they shop on the airplane. So it's getting that almost consumer journey and that 360 journey encapsulated within all of our brands and all of our touch points. And now I touched briefly upon digital when I spoke about Modiface, but this digital side has really infiltrated everything we do. And we now very much have a digital first mindset. So you see some of the stats here about our digital side. So 22,000 employees have been trained through the upskilling programs that we have. This is going up and up every day. It's accelerated even more since we've gone into lockdown. And the structure of the business as a whole and the roles and opportunities that we have available are now all centered around this digital landscape. So even before COVID, we're really adapted to be digital first. I would say that COVID has probably just accelerated that 10 times and made it even quicker. And it does mean that we're constantly changing. And it means that, excitingly for anyone within the business and anyone starting their career at L'Oréal, there are endless opportunities arising. So when we talk about opportunities, of course, it's all about the people who make up that company. And to talk about this side of L'Oréal, I'll hand back to Charlotte.
Thank you, Harrison. So this is a quote from our founder who said a company is not about walls and machines, but about people, people, people. And I really wanted to bring that to life to you this afternoon to talk about everything that we do for our people within the UK and Ireland, which obviously, of course, includes graduates, interns and apprentices. So just so you know that we're based across 5 sites in the UK. So we have 3 distribution centres, 2 based in Manchester, 1 based in Nottingham. Both or 3 of them actually have got roles there as interns. We have a head office in Hammersmith in London, and we have a small office, finance office in Wales, and we have our headquarters for Ireland based in Dublin that have a range of opportunities for junior staff and interns there as well. So overall, we've got 4,500 staff that are employed across the UK and Ireland, and that includes a huge number of beauty advisors that work across our stores and are there to answer customers' queries and demonstrate our brands to them in person. So across the UK and Ireland and across those sites, we have 171 graduates, apprentices and interns. And this is an ever-growing number as we really recognise that actually they are a vital part of our teams, and we get a lot from them and they get a lot from us, and that will be continuing into 2021. We have a huge diverse workforce within the UK, so we have 80 different nationalities across the UK and Ireland. So from a cultural point of view, there are lots of differences, and with it being a people-focused business, you can see that actually how these different cultures merge together is super interesting. From a graduate recruitment point of view, we're the number 3 most popular graduate scheme in the FMCG market, which we're super proud of. We work with over 32,000 different hairdressers. So you can imagine from a pandemic lockdown point of view, there was a huge amount of work that goes in place to ensure that those salons had the equipment, had the skills, had the abilities that they needed to reopen safely and get consumers back into salon, which has been a great achievement by the professional product division. And just an interesting fact is that 70% of our global workforce is female. So I think that it probably goes without saying that we're obviously popular within the female market, but it's also an example of where we really promote female careers as well. And actually at different levels, we have a number of people in different senior roles who are women. So that's a really important message to get across today. So what else does that mean? We've got amazing brands. We're super proud of them. We love the products as well, and there's so much to offer there. But actually, the people are super important, and it's really important to have fun at work and also really support and develop our individuals that work for us. So whether that's through careers days, training events, team farm, which more recently has been virtually, we still get a lot out of who we work with, and actually who you work with is super important. And I think we often have quotes from people that say, actually, it's like working with my friends. I've made friends for life when I've come here to do my placement year. All those things are really important because we really value relationships and actually being together. So you can imagine that when we first were not able to be in the office, that was super challenging. And although we are on a phased return back to the office and people are starting to get some form of normality back, actually there's still a long way to go, and actually people are really missing being with each other. So capturing those moments in the new norm is definitely something that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. But we also support a lot of communities and volunteer work. So we have a Citizen Day where we spend time with people in our community. This is a picture here on the boats of collecting plastic from the River Thames, or perhaps we go to local charities and support with employability skills. For us, it's super important that we kind of build ourselves up as a team, but also sort of give back to the people that we work in, the environment that we work within. Careers are also really important, and we spend time away from the day-to-day job to talk about careers, to talk about development. We really invest heavily in training, and that all trickles down to graduates and interns as well. So as part of your internship, as part of your graduate scheme, you'll be given loads of opportunity to do some training, and whether that's digital training that Harrison just referred to, or training on presentation style, feedback, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever the need is, we've got an amazing range of trainings and trainers that are able to upskill you on that. This is just to mention a couple of charities that we work with as well, and actually during your role as an intern, you may work with some of these charities on the jobs that you do. So a couple of call outs, I'll talk about the Movember Foundation, which is something that everybody loves getting involved in, but also something that's really close to the L'Oreal Men Expert team. Promoting mental health, especially within men, is something that's really important, and actually the whole business and team and office get behind that. More recently, they've been doing a lot of work on the Garnier team within sustainability, and we have an internal green team that work on all the initiatives and everything that we can do within the UK and Ireland. So what has this meant for us in terms of where we feel really proud to be ranked in, and kind of feedback from you guys, I guess? And I guess the one to point out here in the kind of light of the event that we're in is, for the 10th year running and however long the Top 100 Rate My Placement Awards has gone, we've kept coming up the ranks, and we're really happy to be in the top 20. And that's all driven from our past interns reviews and feedback. So if you don't chat to us today on the in the booth or at the Q&A, then I would definitely recommend going to have a look at some of those reviews and the case studies, because they really share actually the good, the bad and the ugly, and the real life experiences of people that have worked within our business. It's important to point out that globally as well, we also strive towards these initiatives, and actually we're super proud of being awarded the top 100 gender equality businesses in the world. L'Oreal takes really seriously these topics, and actually we run a lot of initiatives around women in leadership, but that's not just for women to get involved in, and we really encourage everybody to get involved. But it's really important to promote these topics and create mentors and create role models so that actually people can really kind of strive forward and feel confident and comfortable within the workplace. From a sustainability and green point of view, for the 4th year in a row, we've been awarded the CDP AAA listing for the 3 things that you can note there. And we're the only company in the world to be recognised with this award. So that was something that we were delighted to learn about early on in the year. And this really feeds in nicely to our sustainability mission statement, which some of you may know. And if you would love to read into this, then I would definitely direct you to our website, where there's a whole heap of information and really inspirational stories about L'Oreal for the Future, which is our sustainability commitment for the next 10 years. Just to highlight a couple of those for you in terms of what do they look like in reality. I think that something that's always been really key to L'Oreal's heart is that although we obviously have brands and we obviously have a kind of objective from a sales point of view, we also have a responsibility as an organization to make a difference to the world and the environment that we work in. And if we can do that through consumer influencing, then actually we've really taken out the best thing that we could do as an organization. So a couple of the kind of key highlights there is that 100% of our sites will be carbon neutral by 2025, 100% plastic for packaging from recycled or bio-based sources by 2030, and the information on the environment and the social impact of our products will be made available. So all of these things are super important, and actually by setting these really key targets, we're really able to kind of aim as an organisation and making sure that there's a real change, because these things don't happen overnight, and actually you need a real key strategy in order to enforce these happen and make sure that we make some headway. We also donate a huge amount of money to charities and also organisations that need our support, so that you can see here that actually, especially during the recent pandemic, and Harrison will come on to talk about this in a little bit more detail, but we've also donated, for example, 50 million euros to support highly vulnerable women and organisations that need and communities that need this support. So I think that it's something I wanted to stress that's really important to L'Oreal, that we also have this social and ethical responsibility within the world. So I'm going to hand back over to Harrison now, who's going to give a little bit more detail, like, so what's happening right now, what has this meant for us and our business, and almost like our day-to-day working life.
Cool, so thank you very much, Charlotte. So obviously L'Oreal, like so many businesses, has been impacted by the pandemic and by COVID, but we've continued to do our best really to support our healthcare heroes, our key workers, and those in need during this really tough time. Now, Charlotte mentioned some of the work that we do on sustainability, and that really leads perfectly onto this, because you see here some of the stats behind what we're doing to support COVID, to support those in need during COVID, should I say. So we've donated 400,000 hygiene and care products to frontline healthcare heroes, as well as 100,000 sanitizers to NHS and HSE. I think these figures have actually gone up on a daily basis as well. They continue to increase. We've donated a further 300,000 sanitizers to essential retail staff in grocery stores, the likes of Boots, etc., and continue to support all of our health and beauty charities that we always used to pre-COVID donate money, products, and support to, and our services to. That's not stopped during the pandemic. We've made sure that we've maintained that work, maintained that corporate social responsibility as a key part of our identity as a group. It's not that we've suddenly turned just to support ourselves. We're very much still the same L'Oreal in that sense, even more so during this tough time. But how has it changed the business on a day-to-day basis and the way we work? So Charlotte mentioned how we've started in the head office going back to work, going back to the office in a phased return. So we're now at a stage where we're going back in 2 different teams, so Team A and Team B. The workplace itself is very much COVID friendly now and COVID secure, should I say. So we've got all safety measures in place in head office, the same in our distribution centres. And obviously, it goes without saying that the way of working has changed dramatically. So obviously, we've got a lot more meetings via digital tools such as Microsoft Teams. And for anyone looking to join L'Oreal, this has meant a lot of upskilling on these tools. And also, it has sort of increased the need for a lot more confidence in networking virtually. So something that we've not really needed until this year, the ability to do this sort of networking via a computer screen. It's always been face-to-face. And you can essentially, previously, you could hide behind that camera, hide behind your CV, hide behind your LinkedIn profile. And now it isn't the case at all. So it's definitely something that everyone, whether it be employers, employees, potential candidates, we haven't been able to ignore, we've adapted to. And also, if you think about it, there's certain other skills that go hand in hand with that. So just organizing your time more effectively, taking those breaks, if that's for the sake of your mental health. I've been cooped up in a flat in lockdown, and I think having that break and having that breather from work and separating your work-life balance has been massively promoted in L'Oreal. So we've got these no meetings slots at certain times of the day to make sure that everyone's having a break, having a lunch, having a walk and that breath of fresh air, logging off on time and doing their own thing. So L'Oreal has been very, very supportive as an employer in that sense. I would also say, and you see on there the over communication point, it is key particularly as potential candidates to over communicate in times like this. Get your message over 10 times more than you would in person. And that's the only way it's going to land. So that is definitely one tip that I would pass on to really take with you as a bit of a golden rule. It is a lot harder to get your message across virtually. So it's definitely essential to over communicate with those that you're interacting with, whether it be in interviews, assessment centers, general conversations, Q&As, etc. You get the picture. And I just also wanted to give you a concrete example of really how it's impacted my work on a day-to-day basis. So recently we normally present all of our strategy and our plans for future months to our retailers. At regular meetings, we'll get the retailers into our head office. We would have catering wheeled in. We'll roll out the red carpet for our retailers, give them a real show. We've got products to try. We'll have demonstrations, visuals plastered around the office, perfect technology with sound playing beautifully. Obviously, that is no longer the case. So this week, actually, we arranged a really large Microsoft Teams event, much like this we're having today, where we very much had to adapt, upskill ourselves on the technology. This isn't our forte to present in this way, but it's definitely something that we've had to adapt to and be constantly ready for the unexpected. Even, for example, our intern and grad presented at this, which I feel like until recently that wouldn't have been the case. So it's great that they've had the opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have had. It's not like COVID has meant that those opportunities have been limited. If anything, it's gone actually the other way. Obviously, this didn't go without a hitch. It was received very well. Our messages landed. We had fantastic engagement from our retailers and all those that participated. But we had endless amounts of problems. Honestly, I feel sorry for the tech team behind this platform because they'll be frantically behind the scenes messaging about things potentially going wrong. For us, it was sound people being unable to find the link, and you really have to think on your feet. You do get the same old problems, and for us in meetings it does become a bit of a virtual call bingo. So you get the same phrases. You're on mute is one of them. Let me know when you can see my screen is another. Excuse the background noise, which you might be able to hear here. Another one, I need to jump on another call when you're getting 2 minutes before the end of your meeting. The list goes on, and this is just an example of how the new normal, I'm going to use that phrase, but that is another virtual bingo. The new normal has made sure that we've had to adapt to this, so that when you say, let me know when you can see my screen, nobody sort of questions that, because that's now a normal thing to say. So it's very much, L'Oreal has adapted to this way of working, and all the employees and candidates coming into the business have adapted with it as well. So definitely a skill to bear in mind when you're thinking about applying. From a business standpoint as well, we've also started Facebook Live videos to engage Con's perspective and a few of the other brands to engage consumers where we would previously have run in-store events. And this creative ideas like this and creative solutions are again an example of how we've had to think on our feet during this pandemic. We've had to change our strategy into that digital first mindset, and COVID has really accelerated this. And I don't like using the word unprecedented because you see it enough. So it's been mentioned too many times this year. But this pandemic has definitely meant that as a business and as an employer, we're adapting and collaborating and supporting each other more. So it's very much, obviously, it's a scary time to live in, but it's given new meaning to the word upskilling. So even before COVID, L'Oreal was fantastic at giving interns and grads huge responsibility from day one and real life projects with business impacts. And I do find that the COVID pandemic and the changes that we've had to make have not limited that collaboration or that support. If anything, they've increased it, they've accelerated it, and particularly when it comes to a digital first mindset. So we definitely need to support we have supported the interns and grads to turn everything around, and we've needed their support to react in the way that the digital world required. But to talk a little bit about the opportunities available, I will hand back to Charlotte.
Thank you. I think just to recap then on that, and it's a really good example and a live example of almost what our teams are working on and actually what the role of the interns and the graduates are within those teams, and kind of explaining actually the importance of their role within the team, but what they've needed to demonstrate, and certainly something that we're going to be looking for in more detail when we do our assessment centres in the coming weeks, is that the ability for people to demonstrate their flexibility. So are they agile in the way that they think? Are they flexible in the things that they can work on? Because projects would come to an end, and then they'd have to work on something totally new, and that might mean upskilling on a system, upskilling on a program, speaking to people they've never spoken to before. So showing an element of problem solving and agility within that type of work is absolutely critical. But also being determined to succeed, really still focused on success and making sure that actually you deliver the best piece of work, whatever the project and whatever the outcome. Communicating with people is absolutely key. Housen's already touched on it, but if you're at home, sometimes you're not just having those little conversations or you're not having those little chats. So you need to try and work that a little bit harder to make sure that actually they do still happen, because actually when you speak to people and you call them up and you just say, just fancy to chat, or I want to have a quick coffee with you, they can still happen. And also to kind of really stress that actually cross-functionally, we've had to see a skill set developed where people can actually plug into, let's say, commercial type skill sets. So for example, with the acceleration of e-commerce, marketeers have had to think, how is this going to affect my business? And actually, I've no longer got anybody going into store to buy my products. There's new avenues of where these shoppers are going to. So the demonstration of actually people saying, I'll do that, don't worry, let me take on that project, and really being a self-starter and kind of teaching themselves from a cross-functional point of view versus staying within their kind of box, if you like, was really, really important, and definitely something I would advise people to look at for the future. It's meant as well that we are growing our business in terms of e-commerce acceleration. So there's a number of different roles that have been created throughout the business that's really going to help fuel this part of our business. And we wouldn't perhaps have done that as quickly had we not had COVID. So actually that's a real positive in the sense that we've gone from 0 to 25 in the space of a couple of weeks, and everybody else had to adapt and adjust around that, probably for the better. But also thinking about the impact that has on current business models, like retail, for example, and being sensitive and being very mature about what that could mean for different people's roles and careers who've worked there for a long time, and making sure that actually we're open-minded to seeing people with different skill sets and bringing them into the new kind of world and changing world of business with actually so much wealth and so much knowledge. So what are we looking for then? So you've heard us talk a lot about our business and our brand, but actually these are the key 5 competencies that we'll be looking for in our interns and grads: to be people developers, to be integrators, entrepreneurs and innovators, and strategists. And actually, I think if I was to pull out 2 key competencies to go through in a bit more detail, and perhaps people could join me in the booth afterwards to talk about these in a little bit more detail, it would be to be an entrepreneur and to be an innovator. And actually, without these two key skill sets, actually we would have perhaps really struggled in some parts of the last couple of months, because an entrepreneur always looks for new initiatives, doing things better, really drives forwards their results. And actually we really encourage all our employees, and in particular our interns and grads at the beginning of their career, to think like entrepreneurs, to imagine if it was their own business and what they would do. But also to be an innovator. Can we go bigger? Can we go better? And this comes from the inherent culture of being passionate. So because we are so passionate about what we do in our brands, whatever function or division that you work within, actually being an innovator means I want to be the best at what I do. So whether that's my customer knowledge that I know, the industry information, building on all of that, seeking the best quality, and we really show curiosity through questions and problem solving, and kind of going out there and asking people for information to make sure that we deliver the best results. So to go into a little bit more detail then about the opportunities, I'm really pleased to share that all the roles are now live, and we are recruiting management trainees across our marketing and commercial schemes. So this is an 18-month scheme in which you move around the business 3 times. So you would complete 3 6-month rotations within your function. And one thing that we do is that we encourage people to do one of their rotations in something that's not their master function. So for example, if you're commercial, you might spend some time in digital or marketing, maybe even retail or a corporate function, to understand a different part of the business. As we've talked about, we offer a lot of best-in-class training. We have a business and a HR sponsor that guides those career conversations and development information. So it's a really structured, robust graduate program that then leads into operational opportunities at the end of that. Industrial placements, we have 99 roles, so I sometimes say just close to 100, so specifically 99 industrial placements across all functions, which is on my next slide, which are a 12-month placement year, where you truly are given responsibility from day one. So these are great opportunities to kind of perhaps look into future careers with L'Oreal, or set yourself up for success with 12 months experience to go on to do something else, and go back to university, more importantly, with a wealth of industry knowledge. We're also offering this year 1-week work experience for Spring Insighters, which is really suitable for first years. This is an opportunity to have a little bit of an insight into the brands, into the business, shadow people, but also work on some real life projects. We run a trial assessment centre as part of that week, so that you can secure a placement year ahead of your second year. So it's a great way to test out if you're proactive, if you're on the board and you think, I'd quite like to see what that's like. It's a great way to try and do that. So we really encourage people to apply for that opportunity to see what it could bring. So just to talk about those 100 roles in terms of the placement year opportunities. So these are across the UK and Ireland, just to be super clear. So that's Dublin for the Ireland, London for the UK roles. So those roles will be available across marketing, finance, purchasing. So purchasing is the corporate function that help us bring in companies, perhaps from a supplier's point of view. Maybe if you're in HR, then you might be using a recruitment agency or a media agency, something like that. So they're a corporate function team. Commercial, so working on the sales side of the business. HR, talent, working within my team, supply chain and events. So yes, events are still happening. They might not be in person, or they may be in person in 12 months time, but they're still very much happening in a big part of our business. CMI, which stands for Consumer Market Insights, so digging into a little bit more detail and data on our customers and what they're looking for. Digital marketing, PR, visual merchandising, the look and feel of how things look in store, and maybe moving forward, looking at actually how we can still create an online, an in-store experience, as well as being safe. And business development, what are the opportunities from a category point of view in the marketplace? Let's say for skincare, are there new opportunities within Tesco's, for example, to increase our skincare line, to increase where we market, to increase actually who we work with? So just to say that all opportunities are open now. You'll find a link to our careers site in our employer booth, but we will share that as well with the organisers if they send an email off the back of this. The dates that you can see up on the screen are the closing dates. A couple of top tips that I've been asked over the last 24 hours is, will we wait to start assessment centres by the closing date for industrial placements? No, we won't. We will start recruiting on a rolling basis, probably from November. So really encourage people to get their applications in as soon as possible. Please don't rush this, spend time putting it together. But we definitely recommend that you apply sooner rather than later, rather than waiting till the end date. Just purely due to the volume of roles, we would need to start the assessment process. For the graduate roles, they will not, the assessment centres won't happen until the new year, and we will wait till the end of the assessment, the closing date, before we invite people in for assessment centre, just so that I'm super clear about that. Start dates is really important. So the placement years start in July next year, so July 21, and the same goes for the graduate scheme. So that would also be a July 2021 start date. A little bit about the application process. So it's an online application. You then talk to the wonderful Maya, who's our chatbot, who will answer any basic questions around location, salary, and rights to work. This is not a sort of replacement for a recruiter. This is just to get through the volume of people that will be able to answer the basic questions that candidates have at the beginning. And there is then a number of competency-based questions online, which you would need to complete, two of which are written, one is a video. You need to complete all three sections to be moved forward into the next part of the assessment process. We then will send anyone that's passed that benchmark through a series of tests, which are numerical, verbal, reasoning, and attention to detail. Again, after that stage of the process, you'll then be invited into an assessment centre, which will be both a case study with a manager in the team, as well as a competency-based interview. So a pretty busy and full-on schedule. So that's why we really encourage people to get their applications in as soon as possible, so they can start making their way through the different processes. Just to note that we have two other opportunities that you can get involved with us, and perhaps you're looking to try something different. Maybe you're trying to look to kind of interact and do something a little bit more as a kind of point of difference for your CV and your application form. They are not open yet, but we will share more details on when the competition's open. But this year we'll be sponsoring a award at the Undergraduate of the Year, which is going to be around sustainable thinking. So we're looking for people to come up with ideas on sustainability, whether that's product related, within our communities, within an influencing of customers and consumers. That's going to be a super interesting competition, and we look forward to seeing what people could bring to the table. The prize for that is an opportunity to be part of the green team and pitch your idea to the business, but also to secure yourself a placement or summer internship, depending on what the candidate's preference was. And L'Oreal Brandstorm is an international marketing competition that we run every year. This year, the idea is around innovation within the customer experience. This is going to be something that's quite cool, quite different. And actually, if you're looking to kind of gain some experience and meet and network with lots of different people from different universities and also countries, this is a great project to get involved in and kind of bring something a little bit different to your experience. Great, so I'm hoping that I've come to the end of the time. I can't see the lovely Ellie, so I will say thank you, and hopefully we can go over to the Q&A section, and it'd be great to hear from some of you what your questions are.
Hi there.
I'm on time, or am I not? A little bit over.
Thanks so much for that presentation. That was a great insight into L'Oreal and its brands. I've learned so much now. So I've just been looking at the questions, and we've had quite a few questions come in. So
Great.
Start us off. Got a question around like your core values, and you mentioned, your kind of mission statement is all about the people. What makes you stand out, do you think, from other firms?
That's a good question. Do you want me to go, Harrison, or do you want to go? Or who was that question aimed at?
Anyone.
For me, I think it's about the support that L'Oreal gives to its employees. But to be fair, even to those outside of the business, I feel like I was talking about the retailer strategy meetings, and I think yes, we receive absolutely amazing trainings, but we are always encouraged to support our retailers as well, to support our suppliers. So I feel like it's almost an ethos of L'Oreal to give back, really. And I think that starts with, firstly, like L'Oreal taking care of us as employees, but then we share that with everyone else as well. So I think when we talk about the brand, being passionate about the brands, etc., that's almost second to the people. So for me, it's about that support that L'Oreal gives.
Oh no, great answer. And then you talked about your placement roles, and you've got loads of different departments. I think it was about 12 different departments there that students can apply for. What advice would you give to students who don't necessarily know what area they want to go into?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And actually, something that I didn't mention is that we're not specifically looking for marketing students to work within marketing. We're actually really open to your degree discipline, to the university where you're studying. In fact, we actually run a CV-less assessment centre. So it's all about your skills and your personality and fitting in with us as a team. That's going to really make the difference. So if you're a student that you're thinking, I'm studying engineering, say, for example, but I don't really know what I want to do, but perhaps I don't want to follow the traditional route of that degree, then what I would really recommend you do is have a look on our site, come and speak to people in the booth, but also have a little look through the reviews that are on the website. And there's loads of insights in, like, what does a commercial internship look like? What does that mean? And they talk a lot about actually working with retailers, working with numbers, working in a fast-paced environment. And if you apply for something and we meet you and we think you're better suited to something else, then we'll be really honest. So actually, I would say do a bit of research, read around, ask questions, maybe connect with people, your career service, and they can point you in the direction of people that have worked here before and that have returned, and then they can kind of guide you a little bit of what's the best thing to apply for. But I would say don't wait too long, just go for it if you think that you like the sound of it. And if we think that you're great and we think that you're suitable for L'Oreal, we'll also help guide you to where we think you're going to be best suited.
I'd just add to that as well that I think you were talking about degrees, and I've seen a lot of questions come up about I do this degree, I do that degree. Does that mean that I won't be considered? Mm-hmm. I did politics at uni, so I did nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with business as such. It was just more the skills that I was able to demonstrate that sort of got me the role. It wasn't necessarily the fact that I'd done a pure marketing degree. So definitely be open. Don't think that just because you haven't got marketing or business in your degree title that you can't apply.
No, well, the world's your oyster, isn't it? With that, there's a few questions with the application process. And the people have asked, what actually makes an individual stand out when looking through these applications? And is there any work experience that students should do before applying?
Yeah. That is a great question, and something that's definitely been super popular over the last couple of days, chatting to students in the booth. What I think is really important is that the standout part doesn't come till probably a lot later on in the kind of face-to-face meet that we'll have. And actually, we have developed those tests as a kind of demonstration of success of people that would actually really fit in culturally within L'Oreal, but also ability wise, it's going to be a really good match from a skill set point of view, which is why, to Harrison's point, the degree part is almost irrelevant. If you actually do well in those tests and in that part of the questions, then it's probably going to be a good fit for you as an organization. So I would focus on getting that bit right first, and then thinking about, okay, when I'm coming to the assessment centre or I'm putting forward my CV, just making sure that I've put everything that I get involved in on there so that I have a standout point. So maybe you do some work for a charity, maybe you're super passionate about sustainability, or you're super passionate about something that's personal to you. It's great to have that information on there so we can differentiate people. That's probably something that I would kind of advise people to do on application, but not get too fixated on that and not go through the actual process of the kind of steps that we need you to do first. What was just the second question? I've now talked on that. There was a second one at the end. You just said then. You said, what's the top tip? And then you said something else.
Well, that was it was just about... You
summarised it for me, and then there was another part.
And it's completely gone now. I will try and come back to that in a few moments.
I can't remember. I just hope that's answered the question. I think you just said there was a lot of questions on top tips, and then there was another question about internship.
Work experience.
Work experience. That was it. So work experience is more important, I would say, at the graduate level. So for the graduate scheme, we would look to someone would have a minimum of 6 months experience. That could be from a previous internship or other work experience that they've had perhaps throughout university or after uni. For the internship, we don't necessarily really hone in on work experience. We understand that you are a undergraduate, and this is part of your degree, and this is an opportunity for you to gain experience, which is why it's more skill set based. But also, if you do have a part-time job or something that you've worked in the summer, put it on there. They're all great skills, and even if that's a shop or bar, whatever, it's still working with people. It's still having to kind of manage a team or an organised schedule or whatever it might be. So although it's not essential, it's something that you should definitely make sure you include.
Absolutely, yeah. Every experience is good experience, isn't it? So yeah. Another question came around, what's the work-life balance if you were to work at L'Oreal as a placement student or intern?
Yeah, brilliant question. I'll give that one to you, Harrison.
Yeah, so I mean, Charlotte touched upon some of the things that we do as a business from a work-life balance perspective. I think obviously we've very much adapted during the pandemic, but before sort of everything happened, we had absolutely endless amounts of activity. So there was an intern and grad social committee that would organise regular events. That's now become virtual, so they're still organising those events, but on a virtual level. We had various things, a yearly conference actually with for each division, where they would be taken to an amazing location and sort of shown the best bits of what's to come for the next year, just to motivate everybody and get everyone excited about the plans for the next year. But as well as that, there's I mean, I'm thinking about work-life balance because there are so many things, Charlotte. There's a staff shop as well. So Charlotte mentioned about getting you excited about the products and having a try the products. So we do have that on our doorstep as well. I took part in a L'Oreal football competition, which was worldwide. So we would travel to different countries and compete in football and volleyball against other L'Oreal countries. The list honestly goes on. I don't know.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah,
and I think I just to add is that, like I would say, that it's a fast-paced business. So the workload can have definitely some moments of peak and be busy. So that's why we have all these other things that kind of give people a bit of an outlet. But it does really suit people that enjoy being busy. We're really lucky that way before COVID, we had loads of flexible initiatives to work from home or work remotely, and that gives people back a bit of work-life balance in terms of fitting in whatever their schedule is. So for the population that we're speaking to today, that's probably maybe going back to see family and friends, fitting in sports, fitting in activities that they love, but that also suits, our working parents and people that need to spend time with their children. So actually we've always had that as part of our kind of work-life balance, and then that means that people can get that time back for them.
Yeah, no, that seems an absolutely great place to work. And just last question for both of you, if you could name one thing, what is the best thing about working at L'Oreal?
We're both going to say the same thing, I reckon. I think it's really corny, but it's got to be the people. And I know we've said that, and we're in like a HR role, but genuinely they're colleagues and people that you want to see every day, and you have a great time with, whether that's in work, out of work. If it wasn't for the people, we probably wouldn't have got through some pretty challenging days that we've had in the last couple of months. So that's definitely what's kept me in the organisation for that long.
And I was literally going to say exactly the same thing, so I'll come up with something different.
We've not practiced, we promise.
But I think that another thing that I particularly enjoy about working at L'Oreal is almost the thrill that you get when you've done something good. So like when we did this retailer meeting, you got a bit of adrenaline when it went well. And I think there's that collective, it's probably links to people again, but you've got that collective team spirit where you win as a team, you lose as a team, you have those people around you that make you just feel incredible whatever you're doing. So I think it basically boils down to people again, but you definitely get a thrill from working for L'Oreal that I think a lot of other companies will struggle to emulate.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that. That was great insight to L'Oreal. And I'm sure, are you both at the booth after this? So you can...
I think House has probably got to go to another meeting. He's busy.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I need help being here this afternoon, but I will be going to the booth now.
Lovely. Well, there's a few questions there. So please, if you've got any questions, head over to the L'Oreal booth and have a lovely afternoon. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nisha. Lovely to see everyone.